In 1994, then Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong awarded the Eurasian Association Self-Help Group status, which grants the group access to information and data of their members to further help plan for their community. The status also means whatever funds it raises, the government will match the funds dollar for dollar, up to a cap. This bolsters the education needs and the welfare needs of Eurasians in Singapore. Speaking at the conference on the community self-help model, both MP of Holland Bukit Timah GRC Christopher D'Souza and President of the Eurasian Association Singapore William Jensen agreed the model not only helps individual members of each community, but strengthens relations between the other self-help groups, such as the Singapore Indian Development Association and Yayasan Mendaki.
To the contrary, self-help groups blend and allow those borders to be even made more porous. For example, the Indian self-help group first hosted us, the Eurasian Association, students to tuition classes. So we see there being a lot of porosity between the borders, and in my view, from both personal experience, debating these things in Parliament, being a volunteer, I see that this is indeed a model that perhaps we could share, and from those of us who are beyond Singapore, how we can gather your advice on how we can fine-tune it.
It's good that we are a self-help group because we know our community, we can help our own, we understand their problems, we know the families, we include our non-members in our programs, and there's easy integration with other SHGs in racial harmony events. And we promote our Eurasian culture to other communities like Eurasians in the heartlands and attending all these multiracial events. And I think that the Singapore's SHG model has been effective in strengthening minority communities from an EA perspective.
One area the SHG model has uplifted in their respective communities is the education level, as Devendran of the Singapore Indian Development Association, or SINDA, was quick to clarify that the programs are not there to replace MOE, but to supplement it.
I would think that the role that the self-help groups play is to complement what the day schools, what Ministry of Education has already got in place. We are probably most effective in reaching out to that 20 to 30% of the less privileged, as Matthew has pointed out, who may be having dysfunctional issues or issues which are best addressed by the self-help groups. Because we come from the angle of, the cultural ballast that we share as a community.
Set up 30 years ago, the first self-help group in Singapore, Yayasan Mendaki, has uplifted the Malay community through education programs and welfare for the less fortunate. Its CEO, Mulia Hashim, drew parallels between the self-help groups, reiterating how being outward-looking and inclusive can only strengthen Singapore as a society.
That in the 3 decades, we could actually see how in the first decade it was about community empowerment. We set up Mendaki Sense, which is a social enterprise that to date, after 5 years setting it up, have given training to more than 80,000 people, including non-Malays, and placed people into jobs. Yes, I think that deserves an applause. And we actually have emplaced more than 40,000 people in jobs in the last 4 or 5 years, and including non-Malays. You know, all this talk about us being myopic, us being only inward-looking. In Singapore, it doesn't work like that. We will not survive and we will not be relevant if we don't look to each other and work with each other.